Think that's it? Okay. Hello, everybody. If you guys, we're going to get started. If you guys want to come up here, I hope if you've got a, yeah. If you guys want to come up here, then we'll get started. I'm really glad you guys came out on such a great and beautiful night. Yeah, it's good to have you here. Yeah. Okay. My name's Dave. I work at Urban Spoon, which is upstairs. We often have the meetup here. It's really great to see a lot of new people here. There's a lot of people tonight that haven't been here before, so I really appreciate you guys coming. Yeah. So what's going to happen tonight? I'm going to do a little bit of a talk about how we're using Ember at Urban Spoon, and then Gordon's going to talk a little bit. Then there'll be a lot of space for questions. There's two Gordons here. Gordon Hampton is the organizer for the Ember.js meetup.
I say you're the organizer, really.
We work on this together. We have to coordinate schedules to make sure these happen.
I give you way more credit than myself, so.
Let me think about it. Gordon wrote EPF, which is a much more robust version of Ember Data. Also pushed Ember Data to update itself and get it to a better place. So if you like Ember Data right now, you have to thank this man, because he got it there, for real. Yeah, so anyway, if you've got questions, Gordon's been using Ember for a long time. Gordon's using Ember. Who else? Pedro and Jason they had an app that was in Ember, and then it was down, and then it was back. So.
Wait, what? It was down?
Well, you had an outage?
Oh, yeah. We had an outage yesterday.
Who else? Paul, you've got a couple? Three?
Yeah, one live right now and two in development.
Okay. And yeah. How are you? Sorry for calling you out. Yeah. Okay. So, a few announcements. Do we want to try and do some hack nights during the summer? Is anybody interested in doing that? We've had some hack nights here. Bring your own beer. We have either this room or another room here. Does that work?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So I'll try and put that on the schedule. Yeah. Also, Urban Spoon, we're looking for a Rails developer who likes the whole testing side of an application. If you know anybody who would like to be like a new Rails job, who likes doing testing stuff, please let me know. I have this is the reason why we have food tonight, is so I can say that we have these jobs. We're also looking for iOS developers as well, if you know any of those type of people. Yeah. Okay. Node has its knockout, and Rails has its rumble. Has anybody heard of Node knockout or the Rails rumble? Okay, so Node has this thing every year called Node knockout, where people get together over a weekend to yeah. So it's like a worldwide hack on an app, a Node app, and then you share it with people, and someone will review that, and the community will review that, and then when it's announced. Rails has been doing it for a long time, called Rails Rumble. You can go write a Rails project and then share that with people, and other people will vote on it and have some of the core team members look at it, your app. I want to see that happen in Ember. I need a designer to help me. So if anybody wants to help write an app to make this happen, it sounds like we've got help from the core team that will jump on board as soon as we get something going. So what would happen is we will have a date where people can sign up as either as a team or as an individual, and over that weekend build an Ember app, and then we'll have some few different categories, and then the core team will review those apps, and the community will look at those apps and vote on them, and someone will be announced as a winner. Does that make sense? Is that interesting? I think.
Come up with the name first.
Got to come up with a name. I've had a couple of names, and then
How about Ember and Brickley? I've seen that.
the fight.
It's IMBR. Briglio?
Briglio? I think that's a bit. I had a long conversation with someone about this actually a week ago. Someone came up with Ember Expo, and I was like, sounds like my parents would go to an expo.
So what was your ideas?
My idea was I bought Ember Dojo.
Dojo?
Dojo? Place where we fight and work it out. So we can come up with a better name. So, but I don't think we have to do all of that stuff to get started on this. But I think, yeah, I would like to see it happen sometime in late October, early November. So if you want to help me with that, let me know and we'll. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna start my talk. We're gonna talk a little bit about how you can add Ember to your application, or yeah, how could you use Ember in some of the stuff you're doing. I was up in Vancouver a few weeks ago at a conference, and a lot of people. It seemed like a lot of people wanted to use Ember or had thought about it, but they had thought that you had to do it in a whole app. So the first way you can use Ember is in a whole app. So your whole front end of your application, the whole thing, the whole application is run. All the URLs are managed by Ember. The whole app is an Ember application on the front end. So obviously you have an API that's just serving you JSON, but your app boots into Ember, and Ember takes over and manages your URLs and runs your whole app. Gordon's going to talk about his app. His app's like this. His whole app is an Ember app, I would say. So I've built most of the stuff, all the stuff I've built in Ember up until the last few weeks has been this way. I built Ember Weather. It's a weather application. Built it with Gordon, and the whole app is in Ember. So this is pretty typical. If you go to the Ember website, the to-do app is like this. You let Ember do the whole thing. Another way is that Ember takes over a route in your application. So you may have a Rails app or a Django app or even a WordPress application, and you get to a certain route, and then Ember takes over that page. You put Ember into the page, and Ember spins up, and from that root URL, Ember can take over and manage the URL from that place, and you have all the functionality and all the speed and all the greatness that happens in an Ember app. It just takes over at that point, and your app, that part of your app is now Ember. So I've been working with a guy, his name's Joe. He's out of town. He would have done a talk tonight, but he was out of town. He's going to do a talk next time. He works on a project called Tinderbox, and I've helped him out over the last little while getting Ember into his app. He saw me talk about Ember at one point, and he was looking at the jQuery spaghetti that he had in his Rails application, and looking at building this feature out, and he just thought, there must be a better way. There must be a better way. So he's done that. It's a Rails app. He's using Ember Rails, and this is a little video of his app. So what we're going to see is him going to a URL in his app, and then when he clicks on the link in that app, it's going to spin up the Ember application, and Ember takes over from there. It's not very long. It's not getting any bigger. So what is the app that he has is building sales documents for a sales team or a marketing team at a company, where they can have different sections and different pages in the app. Then they have a whole bunch of static assets that's here on the left-hand side that they can either drag in to the different parts of the application or use as snippets, a bunch of drag and drop stuff that's happening, a lot of dynamic pieces to the app, and for them to write it in jQuery just didn't make sense. And it's been really quite fun to see them as they've jumped into Ember and really ran with it. It's looking really great. One of the guys said to me the other day, Ember's become the ObiWan Kenobi of our app. It's become our new hope. So this is definitely a way I'm seeing people use Ember. They're wanting to, as they're building it, there's 3 of the guys building it. As they're carrying on with it, it's like we need to bring more and more of Ember into other parts of our application. They're also finding that there is ways that they're able to call out to some of the older jQuery functions as well from the Ember app to connect with other parts of their app. So it's not like it's 2 separate worlds that in their own space. There's some connection that can happen in between. So then the next way is to sprinkle Ember into your application. People talk about sprinkling jQuery or JavaScript into their Rails app. You can sprinkle Ember into your Rails apps as well. So we've just done that at Urban Spoon. A few months ago, I had to build a photo viewer, which as we iterated on it, became more and more, and it became quite big and ugly, and there was a lot of DOM manipulation that I had to do in building this photo viewer. There was a lot of truth in the DOM as well. There's a lot of data model. The model was represented as data tags in the DOM, which we were then using to power this photo viewer. It just felt wrong. The whole way we were trying to we were updating the DOM app. Someone clicks, and then we're doing some stuff in the DOM, and I knew that Ember could do that and manage those pieces for me. So I spent a month writing this thing as we iterated on it to get it to a better place. But then in the end, I rewrote it in Ember, and it took me just a couple of days. So we decided that we would look more at using Ember for more of our UGC or user-generated content for Urban Spoon. So we're a Rails app, but I really wanted to use Ember CLI. I knew that that's where Ember development was going. Had to spend some time trying to figure out how do we fit that into the asset pipeline in Rails, but it wasn't too difficult in the end. Yeah, so I'll show you quickly how that's working for us. We're going to use Ember in multiple different places in the app. So right now we have one of the big pushes we're trying to do right now is to find out what you like to eat at a restaurant. So if you go to a restaurant page, you'll see a form there asking you what's your favorite dish at that restaurant. And we have a form, you fill it in, and then it pops up a comment thing, and you can just flow through that. It's really smooth flow because I think we're able to write that much quicker because we're using Ember. So this is what's happening here is this is typical Rails at the top here. We're requiring in the dependencies. One of the pieces that I had to do for us is we already had jQuery on the page, and we're also overriding we're adding some other jQuery methods, and so I had to take that out of the Ember CLI. By default, Ember CLI has jQuery as a part of the vendor library, and then the rest of the third line is the Ember CLI. So that's the actual app, the Ember app that I wrote. Everything before that's all the dependencies of Ember, and then this is just spinning up where I want the app to be displayed. So the module prefix is what we're using as for the ES6 modules. Right above that, you have that root URL, which is Ember app, and at that point, that ID on the page is where Ember will take over. Does that make sense? And then here, this is what's on the actual page. So it's on a restaurant show page. So we have this JavaScript include tag, and then there's some pieces from that page that I want to pass into the Ember app. So I'm passing in that the very first one is the Ember page. So I'm using that in the Ember app as it gets to the application route to go to this route. So I'm saying go to the Dish Opinions route inside the Ember app. So if I put this on another page, I can go to the Photos route and let Ember manage it from there. And then I'm passing in some other pieces we need from this page. Then I'm serializing that. I have a initializer in the app that pulls in this data so we can have page elements that then we can use throughout, whether you're in a route or a component or a controller. You can just grab these from the page. Does that make sense? Ember elements?
That's the same as.
Oh, it's actually, yeah, there's a bug. Yeah. So the top one right here, this should be the underscore. This should be Ember, yeah. It should be, yeah, Ember underscore elements, and then the JavaScript variable is the camel case. Yeah. Good catch. Does that make sense? No, the toJSON method is a part of Rails. So I'm making this Rails hash, a Ruby hash, and then I'm JSONifying it. Does that, any questions there? Yeah. If you want to see how I've done the broccoli stuff, I can show you that. But thanks. Yeah, this is me Kiwi up over. That's not Kiwi power, that's Kiwi up over because I'm not down under, I'm up over. One of my coworkers found that out today. I couldn't believe it. Okay, any questions?
So what's the,
You want a demo? Okay, what?
what's the next cycle of like for how long it will maintain the for how long Ember will run? It's just like a one-page thing, or
It's just one, it's actually just a one widget thing.
okay.
So if we here, this is in Australia. Let's actually go to my brother's restaurant. So just this widget here, can't move it. Can you see that right here?
Yep.
Okay, and he makes what should I put in? They have coffee there. So I don't know if you, yeah. So I can write a comment. Yeah. We had to manage whether people were logged in or not and send them out, log in, come back to the page, and then Ember was able to pick that up and we're able to say, show the right things at the right time by using the URL. It's been really fast for us. Then this, so we built it this way, this is what the requirements were, and then we decided to change out the whole flow to use a modal-based flow. So I wrote that in the last couple of days. We pointed that at like 8 points to do. I did it in the afternoon. So it's really changed the way we're writing stuff. It's much smoother and cleaner. It's been a little difficult trying to get the other Rails developers to understand how Ember works or whether we really should use it. I think the speed has helped with that. I think having a smooth build chain is helpful with that. But there was definitely a bit of pushback yesterday as I had a meeting to talk through how this would work. There is definitely some times I've found that I've had to use some normal jQuery to look up other DOM elements on the page that because Ember wasn't managing all of it, I had to get things from the page. So there's a little bit of difference there. It just felt a little weird, but it's what needed to do to make this work. Yeah, anything else?
As far as navigating away and coming back to the page, are you conscious of how when you're saving or committing sort of state within the widget? It seems like it's pretty simple. Obviously.
It's pretty simple, yeah. Yeah, there's not too much, happening. When we come back to the app, we look up the user, and then we go and see whether they have any dish opinions or comments that they're wanting to add, and we just pull that into the page. As Ember boots up, it looks at that stuff and gets the right user stuff back. Partly because of what we have in the DOM by the user ID. Yeah.
So I think those comments here is adding like some interesting content in the page that could like help referencing the open spoon into some search or everything, but because you need to run JavaScript, this content would never be visible, right?
Sure, for sure, for sure.
So is that something that would maybe prevent the open spoon to say let's use Ember into other parts of the website because?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So right now we're talking about just using Ember for all our user-generated content flows. And then everything that we need to there are some pages that on Urban Spoon that aren't necessarily important for SEO purposes, and those pages I think we can have a little bit more useful use of Ember at that point, or more JavaScript stuff. Yeah. Anyway, great. Thanks.